You are ready to bet on you, just like I bet on myself when I got that fixer-upper house and I renovated that house by cashing out my retirement, and I put 15 beds in that house and I started making a ton of money. So I know that you are on this call for a reason too. You are ready to bet on yourself. What is co-living? I say group home. Group home is kind of an outdated term for what I do. There are group homes, and there's a legal definition for group homes, especially in Texas. In 2025, Texas actually passed a law that legally defined group home, and it's a house that provides some kind of personal care service, non-medical service. I don't provide any service at all. I only provide housing. So I actually don't have group homes, even though I've been using the word group home for 6 years now. I don't have any group homes. I have what's called co-living or shared living or independent living. There's so many terms that people use to describe where unrelated people are under one roof and share a residential home together by renting out the bed or renting out the room and sharing the common areas. No services are included. That's what I'm going to talk about tonight, is just shared housing. So I actually took the Texas Certified Assisted Living Manager training, and that's where I learned about ADLs, activities of daily living. Activities of daily living are toileting, bathing, feeding, medication management, and those are the types of things that do require a license, and they require some certifications. Once you start helping people and offering help with ADLs, you have to be certified. And that's not what I'm talking about tonight. If you're offering help with ADLs, that is an assisted living facility. And that's not what I do. I do unlicensed shared housing. So hopefully everybody understands the difference now between the assisted living and the shared housing. Assisted living, a lot of times they call the people who live there patients. Group homes or co-living, we don't have patients in the homes. We have residents or tenants. Now, when the people sign a lease, that is legally a tenant, but I like to use the word resident. Even though my people do sign a lease, I like to use the word resident so that it's ingrained in their minds that I can put them out if they break the house rules. Now, I also get questions about what about people who do need help with ADLs, with activities of daily living. I actually still can house those people, but the help just doesn't come from my company. That help is outsourced to other companies. A third party provides that help. And that's where a home health company comes into play. So medication management, feeding, a nurse, helpers, and things like that, that needs to be outsourced to another company that does have a license. Some of my residents have insurance that offers provider hours. And with provider hours, they can have a family member come and help them for a few hours a day. That help just does not come from my business again. So I do get some questions sometimes about co-living versus multifamily properties. So with co-living, you do get a higher return on investment. You get a higher ROI than a multifamily because you're going to get better loan options than a multifamily or commercial property. And that's because you can get a fixed interest rate on a co-living house for 30 years because a co-living property is basically the same thing as a single family home. It is the same thing as a single family home. It's just the way you're using it is now it's like you've got multiple doors under one roof. And I hope that makes sense. Also, you have lower maintenance costs than a multifamily because you have one kitchen, not 2 or 3 or 4. You have one living room, one plumbing system, one septic system, one electric bill. There's always one bill when you have one house, but if you have a multi-unit, now you have multiple bills. And then also there's less competition. So there are a lot of co-living homes that are popping up now, but there's really still not enough to fix the affordable housing crisis. And with co-living, you earn 10 times the amount of money than you would on a regular rental. And I'm going to show you that in a few slides. All right, the outlook on the business. So co-living is definitely going to grow. That's why there are all these different co-living trainings and gurus and everybody who's popping up about co-living, because this is a growing business. And it's for several reasons. One is the aging baby boomer population. So 10,000 baby boomers are turning 65 day. So that's a trend that's going to continue through the year 2030. So by the year 2030, 1 in 5 Americans will be 65 or older. Now, a lot of those people are going to need supportive housing, so like assisted living, but not all of them are going to need that assisted living. Not all of them are going to need the full scale help and all of that. They're just independent people who are older and on fixed incomes, because assisted living costs between $4,500 a month up to, it could go up to 10,000, but usually it's between 4,500 and like $6,000 a month. And that prices out a lot of people. So not everybody needs a nursing home or a skilled nursing facility or assisted living for that $4,000, $5,000 a month. They really just need safe, stable, shared living. And that's where homes like mine and like yours can step in. And that demand is only rising. And then we have the affordable housing crisis. So this is something that has been going on and is still going on. And as the economy gets worse, it's just getting more and more of a need. So rent and housing prices are just going up. It's not coming down anytime soon. So shared housing is the only affordable option for a lot of low income adults. Even working professionals are starting to live in this sort of environment where they're renting a room. And it might not be in a room in the kind of area where I have my house, is like a sea-level type neighborhood. It might be a room in a mansion that's on the beach. But a lot of people are getting into the co-living environments now. So it's not just about making more money for me and for you. It's also solving this housing problem. A lot of cities need this type of housing. And then we have the decline in private room supply. So new construction favors luxury homes and large single family homes, but not affordable housing, not affordable shared housing, and definitely not affordable housing. So as private housing costs rise, room rentals and co-living offer this scalable solution. And landlords who make that pivot can really benefit from this. And then lastly, we have social isolation and mental health. So adults with mental health challenges, disabilities, or substance recovery needs often thrive in structured, shared environments. And group homes give them community, not just a roof over their head. So the power in this model is both in the profit and in the purpose, because it meets a real need for society. And then another stat for you is 1 in 4 adults in the United States lives with a disability or mental health condition. So when you combine the aging demographics, the housing shortages, the affordability issues, and the shifting preferences, co-living and independent living homes are not just a trend. It's really the future. It's something that's going to keep going. So I did see a question that popped up. Let me see. Take a little break for Q&A. If you already own multi-unit and single family homes, do you find that this is better suited for single family? Yes, I do find that this is better suited for a single family home instead of a multi-unit. And it's because of what I just went over. With a multi-unit, you've got multiple bills that you have to pay and multiple kitchens and multiple systems, whereas with a single family home, you make the most profit. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. Okay, so why should you listen to me? So I'm Katrina Robinson, for those of you who just joined, and I have 3 co-living homes in San Antonio, Texas, but I actually live in Los Angeles, California. So people started asking me when I opened my 3 homes, how I'm doing it, how I'm running these 3 co-living homes in Texas while I live in California. So now I help future group home operators and co-living home operators start and run their own co-living businesses so they can create a profitable and purpose-driven business without getting overwhelmed by the process. I teach people in a very step-by-step way in my coaching program. And the way I got into this is about 6 years ago, I was looking for some kind of side hustle that would bring me the most profit, but with the least amount of work. And it's not because I don't like work. I'm actually a workaholic. I love to work. But I was even in the military. I was in the military for 6 years, so I'm used to hard work. But I wanted something that was going to bring me money that I wouldn't have to be there all the time, especially since I'm such a workaholic. I didn't want to be over there. And I knew I would be over there all the time if I started this in my city. So I actually started off the route of assisted living. So I went to an assisted living training. I went to the residential assisted living academy training. And then I took the course to become certified for both Texas and for California because I wasn't sure where I wanted to open. And I had been stationed in Texas for many years, and I went to high school in Texas. My parents live in Texas. So I knew that it would probably be Texas or California. And I learned a ton by taking all of that training. But I also learned that you need a caregiver, you need, like a nurse, you need to provide meals. And it was just a lot. It was a lot that was required. And I didn't want to end up on the news. So I wanted to do something that was less responsibility and less risk. And then also during this time period, my sister passed away and I got custody of my two nieces. So I really needed to focus on that. So I took a little break from the assisted living route, and then I ended up pivoting to independent living because a friend of mine who I went to the training with told me about independent living. So fast forward, I learned about independent living. I bought a fixer-upper. I cashed out my retirement so that I could fix up this property. So I fixed up the property. And in the end, it was 15 beds because it was a humongous house. So it's 15 beds in that property. And I charged $560 a month per bed. Gross was 8,400 was the gross on that income. So 8,400 a month I was making. And then, subtract $2,000 for the mortgage on it, subtract another $1,000 for the utilities, and I was profiting 5,400 a month on that one house. So by that point, I was sold. I stacked up my money and I bought another house, and then stacked up my money and bought another house. And then I started teaching other people how to do this business. So that's basically me in a nutshell. And I did not read any of that slide, but that's me. And also, I want to point out that when I cashed out my retirement, everybody around me was telling me, don't ever do that. This is crazy. Don't do that. This doesn't make sense. And so what I learned from that is not to tell people. I already had doubts in my head. I already had, ideas that maybe this would work, maybe this wouldn't work. And when you tell people who are not supportive of what you want to do, they can easily amplify those doubts in your head. So I stopped telling people, and I'm so glad that I did, because otherwise I would have pulled out of that dream. I would not have pursued that, because if I listened to everybody else, I would not have cashed out my retirement, and I would have never started making that kind of money. So I say this to say, you can't tell everybody your dream because they can't handle it. Everybody can't handle what you want to do. All right, off my soapbox. Okay, let's get into the profit potential of this business. So on the left-hand side, we have a single family rental. And let's just say we rent out this house for $2,000 a month, and our mortgage is $1,800 a month. 2,000 minus 1,800, that's $200 profit. Now that's like pretty normal. Now this amounts here might be too low for where you live. It might be high for where you live. Let's just use this as an example. So you're profiting $200. Let's take the same house and let's turn it into a co-living property. So we take that house and we put 2 beds in each room. Now, you might decide that you don't want to do shared rooms because private rooms are more appealing to certain demographics. Shared rooms are appealing to other demographics. And then there's some people who say, I would never put 2 people in a room. That's disrespectful and this and that. Well, here's the thing. If someone is living in a shelter and it's a big space with 50 people, and then they have an opportunity to live in a room that has one other person, then they're okay with living with one other person. And that's actually a step up from where they came. So It's not disrespectful to put two people in a room. I do hear that a lot. And if you think it is, that's fine, to each his own. But there are demographics who are willing to share a bedroom. And then there's demographics who are not willing to share a bedroom. So it's up to you how you want to run your business. So let's say you put two beds in each room and you charge $500 a month per bed. So 500 times 8, that's $4,000. And then subtract the 1,800 and you've got 2,200. So if you compare $200 to $2,000, what is that? That is 10x. So you have 10x your income on that property. Now let's say 600. You're going to charge $600 a month. So 8 beds times $600, that's 4,800. Now again, that's shared bedrooms. So 4,800 minus the 1,800, that is 3,000. So that's even more than 10x. And then let's say it's 650. So 8 beds times 650, that's 5,200. And 5,200 minus 1,800 is 3,400. But I know what you're thinking right now. But wait, Katrina, you said that we are covering the utilities. Yes, I did say that, or maybe I didn't say that, but we are covering the utilities. So we're covering the electricity, the gas, the water, and the internet. So even if you deduct the cost of the utilities, you are still bringing in 10x the amount of a regular single family home. I hope everybody sees that. When I opened my first home, it had 15 beds in it. Now, since then, I have reduced the number of beds because there was one room that it was just too crowded. It was full at one point, and then after that, it was hard to keep it full. So I did remove a couple of beds. And so that house actually has 13 beds now, but initially it had 15 beds. I started off charging $560 a month, which was low at the time even, but I didn't know any better. So I started off charging $560 a month per bed. 15 times $560 is what? 15 times $560 is $8,400. If you're playing with me, use your calculator. That's my favorite app, is the calculator. So if you're playing with me, try it. 15 times 560 is 8,400. My mortgage was $2,000. Deduct another $1,000 for utilities, and I was profiting over $5,000 a month. That was on one property, not on a job. It was on one property, which I managed part-time from Afar. I was living in Los Angeles and the house was in San Antonio, Texas. And I was profiting over $5,000 a month on that property. Now, you might also be thinking, I don't want to deal with that many people. I don't want to deal with 15 people. And I didn't either. I completely understand. I hear you. So I actually outsourced my headache. I outsourced the headache of dealing with that many people to an operations manager. And that's the autopilot part of my training. I show you how to find and hire and compensate an operations manager. He gets a cut of the money and I'm still making good money. So that's part of my training too, is I teach you how to find an operations manager. There are other options too. You could also name someone as the house supervisor. And the house supervisor is a resident of the house that you give a discount to so that they can handle certain tasks and duties of running the house. So that is pretty much the profit potential of this. If you have questions on this part, please put it in the chat box now, and I will get to all of the questions in the end. And I do foresee more working class people moving into co-living as a way to reduce their living costs. And I say working class because the people who I house are usually on SSI or SSDI or some other kind of government assistance. And that's how they're able to pay their rent to me. And when you're marketing to working class people, you can charge more. They probably won't want to share a bedroom. They're not going to want to share a bedroom, but maybe they'll pay $1,000 a month for a private room that includes utilities. And also what you charge depends on where you are in the country. Now, let me just double check the chat. Okay. What did you get certified for? That's a great question. So when I took the training for assisted living, In Texas, they call it the Certified Assisted Living Manager, CALM, CALM. I took that training. And then in California, I took the training for RCFE, which is, gosh, residential, somebody help me out. It's residential care for the elderly. I think that's the title of it. It was years ago. So I took both the RCFE and I took the CALM. And then I ended up not using either one of those. And I went on to do independent living. Do you recommend house supervisor or an operations manager? What are the pros and cons of each? Okay, I actually like both. When I first started and I had the 15-bed house, I did not have any help at all. And I was scared. I was always looking at the cameras. I had the Ring camera app on my phone. I was looking at the cameras all the time. So then eventually I named someone who lived in the house, a resident, I named him the house supervisor. So he had a list of specific duties that I give you in my coaching program, the duties of the house supervisor versus the operations manager. So I had him be the supervisor. Now, once I opened my second property, that's when I was like, okay, I need more help than this. I need an operations manager, someone who can answer the business phone line and can also manage my tenant management system. He can enter people in there and do intake and just do higher level work. So that's when I hired an operations manager. I recommended to the operations manager that he continue to have a house supervisor at each house. So that way he has one point of contact for each house. But he actually would rather have contact with everybody the same instead of having a house supervisor. So it's up to him. If I were the operations manager, I would probably still have a house supervisor at each house. But he decided he'd rather just have direct contact with every single resident. I hope that answered the question. As far as the pros and cons of each, the house supervisor is someone that you're just giving a little discount on their rent. They're also not doing a whole lot of high level work. Whereas an operations manager is like another you. They're like another owner operator kind of, except you're the one who owns the business. But that operations manager does a whole list of duties that are higher level than just a resident who can open the door for people. And hopefully that answered the question, but I go into a lot of detail in my coaching program. All right, so let me get back to this. So I know you're on this call for a reason. You are ready to bet on you, just like I bet on myself when I got that fixer-upper house and I renovated that house by cashing out my retirement and I put 15 beds in that house and I started making a ton of money. So I know that you are on this call for a reason too. You are ready to bet on yourself. Maybe you want more income or more time freedom or more family time, or maybe you want to make a difference in the affordable housing crisis. What is your why? That's what I want you to think about. Maybe you already have a rental property that's bringing in that little $200 a month, that pitiful, measly little $200 a month that I was very happy to get, by the way. When I had a single family home and I was getting $200 a month, I was very proud of myself and I was very happy. But then once I was introduced to this model and I saw that I could make 10 times as much or even more than 10 times as much if you have a huge house, that's when my mindset shifted. So I want you to think about your why. Like, why are you even on this call today? And then think about your life vision too. So what vision do you have for your life a year from now? And what vision do you have for your life 3 years from now and 5 years from now? And not only what the vision is, but how would an extra $2,000 a month change your life and the life of your family? That's with one house, by the way. That 2,000 that's what I tell all my coaching clients is you aim to earn $2,000 a month profit on one house. But with what I teach you in my coaching program, you will easily have more than one house. You will open one house, you'll fill that house, and then you'll be like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to open the next house. There are people in this business, in this industry, who have 8 houses, who have 16 houses. You can easily replicate the model after you go through my coaching program. I teach you how you can just put it on autopilot and then replicate it and do it again and again and again. And then pretty soon you can fire your day job if that's what you want to do. You can fire your day job. Or you can leave a legacy for your family. I have coaching clients who are like, you know what? I want one house per child. and I've got 5 kids. So my goal is 5 houses, because that way when I'm gone, they each have a house that they can do with whatever they want with. So here is what you came for. This is my system, and I'm not going to go into all of the details. If you want to take a screenshot, you can take a screenshot. This is my proven system to open and operate your profitable group home in 6 steps. And how do I know this works? I know this works because this is the exact model I use to open my 3 group homes. I call them group homes, but they're co-living, whatever, independent living, shared living, co-living homes. And I'm about to show you a walkthrough video of my client, Kenya, who had her open house. So my program is a 6-week program. She signed the lease on her property, which, by the way, you don't have to buy a house to do this business. You can rent a house and do this business. And most of my coaching clients rent the properties where they do their business out of. You just need the ability to sublease the property. So when you get with a landlord and they're willing to rent the house to you, you need permission to sublease the property to other people, and also to change the locks. And there's a few other things that I give you in my coaching program that you need to specify in your lease with the landlord. So back to Kenya. She signed a lease on her property during week 3 of my coaching program. And then she had her open house event during week 6 of my coaching program. And she filled 5 of her 9 beds during her open house event, week 6. So real quick, the first step in setting up your co-living business is reframing how you think. It's getting into the CEO mindset. Step 2 is the business and setting up the business and doing your market research. Then step 3 is getting the property. Step 4 is marketing, because if you don't fill the beds, then you're not going to have a business. And then after that is setting up your day-to-day operations. Then you focus on efficiencies and putting everything on autopilot. So now I'm going to show you the little walkthrough video of my client, Kenya. She went through my coaching program and opened her first co-living home in Baltimore. All right. So that was Kenya's walkthrough of her open house. And she actually is now on to house number 2 and 3. I did a follow-up interview with her on my YouTube channel, and she's about to open house number 2 and 3. And it's only been, I believe, 5 months, maybe 6 months since she opened her house. And she's about to open house number 2 and 3. And as a reminder, that house is a rental. That's a rental property. She does not own that house. So she found a landlord, and also there's ways for you to do shortcuts and not have to find the landlord yourself. But I give you a landlord pitch script, so you know exactly what to say to landlords to allow them to have you sublease their property. So you can do that on your own, or you can pay a company like Rental Home Locator, and they can, I did an interview with them too, but they can find the landlord for you. So who is my program for? You want to start investing in real estate, but maybe you just don't know how. That's who my program is for. Or you want to be a social entrepreneur. So you want to do good for society, and you also want to do good for yourself, and you want to do something meaningful for your city and for your country and for the world. So fun fact, when I was in San Antonio for my open house for my second property, actually one of the constables for San Antonio, which is like a sheriff, they came over and gave me a coin. So she gave me a coin to basically give me an award for helping with the affordable housing crisis in San Antonio. So this is the type of housing that is needed, and it's important. And most of all, it is not illegal. I hear that a lot. What you're doing is illegal. It's not illegal. It is absolutely not illegal. There have been homes like this since the beginning of time. There's been rooming houses. It's just not something that was trendy or talked about. But there's been people who rent out rooms in their houses forever. Ask anyone. So anyway, be a social entrepreneur, or maybe you already have real estate, but you want to get better returns on your investment. That's who my coaching program is for. Let's see, what else did I want to highlight? So another thing, the American Society of Training and Development actually did a study. And their study showed that when you write down your goal and you don't mention it to anyone, you're not likely to reach your goal. But when you announce your goal to a coach or a trusted friend, Now you're 65% more likely to achieve that goal. And when you give a weekly progress report to a coach or a friend, now you're 95% more likely to achieve that goal. So it's really crucial that you build a support system. Whether you decide that you want to go with me as your coach or someone else as your coach, I just encourage you to have a support system because you have this goal and you've probably been thinking about this and you've been on YouTube University probably for 2 years. I talk to people who are like, I've been looking into this for 2 years and I really want to do it, but I don't know. And him and high and just do it. Just do it, especially if you already have the property. If you already have a property, switch it over to co-living, see if you like it, see if you like the money. And then if you don't, switch it back to a regular single family rental. That's easy. Or find a property to rent. Rent the property, see if you can fill the beds, just try it. Try it for a year, see what happens. Life is so short. I'm really on one tonight. I'm on like my little soapbox, but life is too short to not do what you want to do. If there's something inside of you that's telling you, I want to do this, I want to do this, just do it. Just do it. What you waiting for? Just do it. All right. So I actually had a bunch more slides and I guess I went through and hid them because I was like, I'm not going to have enough time for this. Yes, I do have time for this though, but let me just run through my program real quick and then we'll just have a really long Q&A session. Okay. So getting you from where you are now to opening your doors is going to take 6 weeks. And I call that my 6-week intensive coaching program. You get lifetime access to video modules, which is in like an online course. So you log in and you have access to this online course and you have lifetime access to this online course. You also get a digital workbook and that digital workbook includes all of my scripts and templates and standard operating procedures and intake forms and basically everything that I have done and collected over the past 6 years of running my 3 homes from Afar. I put that all into a digital workbook for you. And you can take that and change up what you don't like. If you don't like that house rule, take it out. If you want to add in something else, put it in, put your own logo on it, and boom, you already have all of your documentation done. So that's why I give it to you as a digital workbook. During the 6-week intensive, you also get 4 private one-on-one calls with me. So those calls are hour-long calls, and that's where you can ask me whatever you want to ask me. We also have a private Slack channel where you can ask me questions in there, and also your customized to-do list is in there too. So I'm going to put in there what you need to do week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with deadlines of what you need to do. And you're going to go in there. You can put comments. I can answer your comments. You check off as you complete those things that you need to do. We also have weekly office hours, which is kind of like a group coaching call. So everybody who is in my program is welcome to join the group coaching call. And if you cannot attend the group call, which are on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, so that's 5 p.m. Eastern, if you cannot attend the group coaching call, it's okay. You get replays of all of the group coaching calls. So that gets you from where you are now to opening your doors. That's the 6-week intensive. But once you open your doors, that's when you start having all of these issues that pop up because you've got all these different people under one roof and there's personalities, there's people who are not following the rules, et cetera, et cetera. So once you open your doors, I continue to mentor you every other week for your first 90 days of operations because I want to make sure you fill your beds. And I also want to make sure that any challenges that arise, that you know how to address those challenges because once you get that house going and you get it on autopilot and you are hitting your target occupancies, you will easily be able to duplicate that process for house number 2 and 3 and 4 and 16 if you want to. So that's why I give you the 6-week intensive. And then I continue to mentor you every other week for the 90 days. So altogether, you get 10 calls with me. 4 of those calls are hour long, like setup, getting your business set up. type calls. And then after that, it's mentorship. And those are all 45 minutes long each. So you get total of 10 calls with me one-on-one, plus we have the weekly group calls. And you are invited to the weekly group calls throughout the entire process. So it's about 5 months, I guess, of coaching. So if you want to get into this coaching program, I encourage you to book a call with me. My calendar is open. Now, I do have some days that are coming up that I've blocked because I have a conference that's coming up. So this is the link so you can book a call with me. If I taught you how to profit $2,000 a month for the rest of your life, how much would that be worth to you? That's a rhetorical question. You don't have to answer it. If you want to answer it because I'm curious what you think. If I taught you how to profit $2,000 a month for the rest of your life, how much would that be worth to you? Implementation requires that you pay. So you can collect knowledge all day long. You can go on YouTube and learn how to do this business. You can read books. I don't know if there's a whole lot of books on this, but you can go out and collect all this information and you can do it, but you're going to have mistakes. So you can either pay for mentorship or you can pay for mistakes. You choose. You choose your heart. You pay for your mentorship or you pay for mistakes. People always say knowledge is power, but really it's knowledge plus action is power, or knowledge plus execution is power. That's where the power comes from, and actually doing it, not just the knowledge, not just collecting knowledge. There are people who I talk to all the time, every day in these calls that I do, who know everything about group homes. They know everything about co-living. They just have not executed. You need to execute. Execute, just do it. I used to think that if I just had the knowledge that I could do it. But then after stumbling for a while, I did end up paying for a coach. That was a great idea. The only problem was that coach had never opened a co-living home before, had never opened a group home before. It was just a generic coach. So you have to get the right coach. Pros ask who, not how. Like, who can help me do this? Who is the best person to help me do this? You want someone who's been there, done that, and still doing it. I still have all 3 of my homes that are up and running, and I have an operations manager that runs my homes, and we have our meeting every week and talk about the status of our homes. So execution beats knowledge every day of the week. Information alone is just not enough. So if you want to go faster and further, you do need a coach. You need a mentor who's been there, done that, still doing it, someone who can help you execute. All of this would be easier if you had the checklist, if you had the templates, and somebody to hold you accountable every week. That's me. That's what I do. So I teach you exactly how to profit $2,000 a month for the rest of your life, or for until you decide to stop this business. So I encourage you to book a call. All right. Now, before we get to Q&A, real quick, I will do a plug for my conference that's coming up on April 24th and 25th. If you are in the Los Angeles area, what are you doing if you haven't got your ticket yet? You got to get your ticket to the conference. And even if you're not in the LA area, hop a flight, get to the conference, because I'm going to teach you basically how to set this up at the conference. I'm not going to go all into detail with the coaching because that's just not enough time. The 2 days is not enough time to go into all of the execution details. But whether you have taken my coaching or somebody else's coaching or not, you will benefit from this conference, because you are going to walk away with a clear launch plan, a pricing strategy, and financial clarity. You should be there. Just be in the room. grouphomenonautopilot.com/CBC. And that's what my event is coming up. And the ticket sales are actually going to end pretty soon. They were supposed to end tomorrow, but I'm going to keep it open as late as I can. The conference is on the 20th. And you're going to be learning from people. Oh, April 20th is the discount code. I was going to say it's not on the 20th. It's on the 24th. It's April 24th and 25th. But if you go to grouphomenonautopilot.com/CBC, and you put in this discount code, you will get 20% off your ticket. So April 20 is the discount code. So you're going to be learning from people who are actually in the field. We've got Pad Split that's going to be there, a commercial and residential real estate investor, an accountant and tax strategist, and a community supportive housing expert. Now, I don't like to put people's business out there, but I will say that unfortunately, Felicia Edelman of SOS Housing, who I call a friend, not just a colleague, she was recently in an accident and she is in critical condition. So I am a praying person and I've been praying for her for the past couple of days. And I ask that you also pray for her to pull through because she's not going to be able to be at the conference and she's actually in the intensive care unit. So I just ask for prayers and that's why I put that out there. She does need your prayers. And I did hear that from her people. So it's not a secret, but please pray for Felicia Edelman. She is a friend of mine. So you are going to learn from people who have done this business and people who understand the real numbers behind this business. So you're not going to just leave with ideas. You're going to leave with an execution plan. Use my code April 20 to get 20% off your ticket for the conference. And I hope to see you there. All right. Let's go to Q&A. Let me go to the Zoom. All right. I actually don't see any questions in the Zoom. So that's good. Let me go over to the YouTube. Is this possible with a 3-2 1,800 square foot home? So it is possible to do this in a 3-bedroom house. However, I don't recommend it. I recommend that you get at least 4 bedrooms, and it's because of the profit potential. And it also depends on where you are in the country and your market research on how much that you can actually charge per bedroom or per bed. Because with my third house is a 3-bedroom. And with that 3-bedroom house, I am not making much money on it. They are paying my mortgage, so that's awesome. They're paying my mortgage, but I'm not making the money that I wanted to make on that house. So usually a 3-bedroom house doesn't make you the money, but once you jump to 4, when you jump to 4 bedrooms, that's where you really start making profit on your property. That's a great question. Thank you. Okay. How often do you visit your properties? So when I first started doing these group homes, I was so nervous. I was so nervous and I was looking at the cameras all the time. And I was going out to my properties every 3 weeks. So all the money that I was making from the homes, I was using that money to fly to Texas so that I could be there and just check on my house and then also do intake with people and stuff. Because I remember I did not have any help at this point. I did not have an operations manager. After I hired an operations manager, I started going out to Texas every other month. Then the next year, I went out there once a quarter. And then the next year, I went out, well, actually, let's fast forward to last year. Last year, I only went out there twice. So this year, I did plan initially on being out there once a quarter. And the last time I went out there, though, I believe was January. I think January was the last time I was out there. So I need to plan my trips. But I do want to stick to once a quarter. I want to stick to once a quarter because the 2 times a year, that just wasn't enough. I don't really have any questions. Just decide to book a call. Oh, yeah. Let's get this show on the road, Gavin. Yeah, book that call. The link is there in the chat. So book that call. Is there a maximum for bedrooms per house? A maximum, I think I understand your question, like a maximum number of people that you can put in the bedroom. I think that's what the question means. And there really isn't a maximum number of people that you can put in the bedrooms. I have a room that has 4 beds in it. If you go to my YouTube channel and go to the playlist that's called Tour My Group Homes and watch my house tour number 1, you'll see that there's a room that has 4 beds in it. That room is huge, though. It's humongous. So it's really not, there's no rule on like how many people you can have in the bedrooms, but it's usually 2. Usually it's 2 per standard size bedroom. But if you have a huge room, you can have more people. Now, most people don't want to share a room with that many people, but this room is different. It's humongous. Okay, is there maximum number of people under one roof before it's just too much? No, because if the house is humongous, you can have a lot of people under one roof. But there are homeowners associations that say you're not allowed to have more than 3 unrelated people under one roof and stuff like that. Now, those kind of rules are actually against federal law, depending on the type of people that we're talking about, because there is the Fair Housing Act. And under the Fair Housing Act, there are people who are protected classes that you cannot just say these people can't live together under one roof, because there's laws, federal laws that are against discriminating against people for their familial status. So you can't say that house has more than three unrelated people if those people have some kind of disability or if they're recovering addicts and things like that, because it's illegal to discriminate against them. So that kind of is getting into the weeds, but I go into this in my coaching program. Okay, what else? I probably just opened a can of worms. You probably have more questions now. What if I turn a 2-car garage into a bedroom? Do it. Yes, you can do that. People do that all the time. Yeah, if you have a house, if you own a house and you can put up walls or you can renovate a garage and turn that into bedrooms, do it. Maximize that square footage. All right. Any more questions before we end this? Because we've got 5 more minutes. All right. I don't see any more questions. I'm going to once again put the link for registering for the Co-Living Business Conference in this chat box. And I'm going to also put it over here in the YouTube. There's a lot of people who do this in California. It was just too rich for my blood. So in Texas, I could get 3 houses for the price of one. In California. Okay. Since there are more people in the home, I'm pretty much sure the insurance policy requires more coverage. What's the average cost of insurance you're seeing per home? No, not really. My insurance is about $150. No. Now, if you have short-term rentals, the insurance does go up. But because this is not short-term rentals, these are all at least 30 days. So if it's less than 30 days, your insurance does go up because that's short-term rental. But these are all month-to-month leases, or you can do annual leases if you want. I do month-to-month. But if you have more than 30-day leases, then the insurance is pretty basic, like it's pretty much normal. Did I miss anything else? I think I answered all the questions. So book your call with me if you're interested in the coaching program. And if you're in the Los Angeles area, or even if you're not in the LA area, book your flight and come out to the Co-Living Business Conference. Now, hurry up and get your ticket though, because I was supposed to stop the ticket sales tomorrow. And I think I'm going to continue it till maybe Monday, because I do need to cut it off at some point and have an actual head count for the hotel. So book your ticket for the fly out here to LA if you want to fly out here. And if you're local, get your ticket, be in the room. And then also, I do work with a lot of couples. I work with people who they're couples and they have this home together, or they want to open a home together. If that's your case, just message me, send me a note, because if you're a couple, then I'll give you like a 2-for-1 basically special. So you don't have to pay for 2 tickets. You can just pay for one, but I do need the name and email address of that other person so that I can have a seat for them. Can you do this in New York City? Yes, you can. There are people who do this in New York. There are people who do this all over. And I coach people nationwide. I have not coached anyone in New York City, but I have coached New Jersey. Well, this has been fun. I appreciate everybody for attending. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream to YouTube now, and book that call with me. One last call, book that call with me, and I will see you then. Thank you again. Good night.